Imagine trying to survive on a tiny patch of desert. You have almost no natural resources, severely limited drinking water, and you are completely surrounded by hostile borders. That was the reality for Israel in 1948, a newly independent nation facing severe resource shortages. The situation was so dire, the government had to strictly mandate rationing water to just 10 liters per person per day. Exactly 1 day after declaring that independence, 5 neighboring well-equipped armies launched a coordinated multi-front invasion. Yet 75 years later, that exact same patch of desert supports one of the highest concentrations of technology and military exports on the planet. How did a country leverage its most extreme vulnerabilities and severe lack of resources as the exact blueprints to build its greatest strengths? During that 1948 invasion, the resource disparity was massive. The opposing Arab armies rolled in with heavy tanks and overwhelming numbers, while the Israeli defenders had a handful of light aircraft and outdated pieced-together weapons. Out of bombs and artillery, they resorted to psychological warfare. Soldiers loaded small planes with empty glass soda bottles and dropped them over enemy lines. When those cylindrical bottles fell from high altitudes, they produced a massive, terrifying shriek identical to falling bombs. The auditory illusion worked. Convinced they were under heavy aerial bombardment, entire units of larger, heavily armed enemy forces broke ranks and fled in complete panic. By the time tensions boiled over again in 1967, the strategy had evolved from improvised noisemakers to hyper-precise, preemptive intelligence gathering. In an operation known as Focus, Israeli intelligence knew exactly what time the Egyptian pilots sat down to eat their breakfast. They used that exact window to launch a surprise strike, destroying over 300 enemy aircraft while they were still on the runway. To maintain this edge, they built the Mossad, an intelligence agency deploying operatives like Eli Cohen. Posing as a wealthy businessman, Cohen infiltrated the highest echelons of the Syrian military hierarchy. While touring highly classified border defenses, Cohen made a seemingly compassionate suggestion. He noticed the Syrian soldiers sweating in the brutal sun and advised their commanders to plant eucalyptus trees around the bunkers to provide shade. The Syrian army planted the trees, completely unaware they were setting their own trap. From the air, those distinct patches of green foliage became literal, highly visible target markers, allowing the Israeli Air Force to instantly pinpoint and destroy the hidden bunkers. Early survival depended on an intelligence apparatus specifically designed to turn the enemy's own actions into fatal vulnerabilities. War is astronomically expensive, so how does a nation continuously fighting multi-front conflicts manage to build a thriving, high-tech economy at the exact same time? The answer starts in the military. Because of mandatory conscription, the Army's elite cybersecurity branch, Unit 8200, effectively operates as a high-intensity tech incubator. Unit 8200 is the military signals intelligence and cybersecurity corps, responsible for collecting electronic data and defending military networks. These young veterans spend years solving high-stakes, real-world problems involving artificial intelligence and electronic warfare. When their service ends, they take those exact skills and immediately use them to found civilian tech startups. In the early 1990s, the collapse of the Soviet Union triggered a massive demographic shift. 1 million highly educated Soviet scientists, mathematicians, and engineers migrated to Israel, instantly boosting the country's total population by a staggering 20%. They had a massive concentration of brainpower, but a severe financial roadblock. Foreign venture capitalists refused to invest their money in a volatile conflict zone, meaning all that human capital was on the verge of being wasted. To solve this, the Israeli government launched an initiative in 1993 called the Yozma Fund. This chart shows the mechanics of the Yozma deal. If a foreign investor put up 60% of the capital for an Israeli tech startup, the government would provide the remaining 40%. If the company failed, both sides shared the loss, meaning the government absorbed a massive portion of the risk. But if the startup succeeded, the investor had a 5-year window to buy out the government's share at the original low entry price, allowing private backers to keep the resulting profits. By using government funds to de-risk private capital, Israel successfully transformed a geopolitical rideability into a hub for global venture capital. The results of these policies are visible worldwide. The extreme scarcity of water forced the invention of commercial drip irrigation, a technology that applies water directly to plant roots, optimizing farming globally. In defense, they co-developed the Iron Dome with the United States, an air defense system designed to neutralize incoming short-range missiles with pinpoint accuracy. This proficiency in engineering extends to medical diagnostics, like the PillCam, a swallowable camera, and mobile software, like the navigation app Waze, acquired by Google for over $1 billion. These outcomes demonstrate a harsh geopolitical reality. International support typically follows power. When Israel was resource-poor and militarily vulnerable in 1948, it stood largely alone. Today, its internal strength makes it a partner few global powers can ignore. This was achieved by prioritizing the minds of citizens over natural resources. Israel currently spends approximately 5% of its GDP on research and development, the highest rate in the world, ensuring its primary export remains high-level expertise. This ecosystem is supported by a culture where a failed startup is viewed as valuable experience rather than a professional stigma. By removing the shame of failure, the country created a laboratory where engineers are encouraged to attempt high-risk, high-reward projects. Israel proves that existential necessity is the ultimate driver of innovation. If you found this valuable, leave a like and subscribe to Global Lens for deep dives into the geopolitics shaping our world.